Welcome back to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for staying with us. Well, you can expect to see a lot more boat traffic at Lake Tahoe this summer, partly because the docks are finally open again, and partly because there's not much in the way of beaches with the water so high. Unfortunately, that means an increased risk for invasive species getting into Tahoe from other bodies of water. So Dennis Zabaglo from the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency is here now to talk about that. Dennis, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the big concern, is it quagga mussels again?
That's the biggest one that most people talk about. It's pervasive throughout the Midwest and the East, has spread throughout the West. Fortunately, in Tahoe, we don't have them, and so that's the main one we're really concerned about.
Okay, and when quagga mussels, they're literally like the mussels, like the kind you eat, and it like crusted on things?
They're similar, but they're much smaller, about the size of your thumbnail. But they have that same beard that you would have to pull off. It's called abyssal thread, but that's what makes them really tough to manage because that's what they stick onto the boat with. And so any decontamination that we would have to do if we find them, you have to use hot water, perhaps some high pressure to get them off.
Okay, and people probably don't even know they have them on there.
Sometimes, yeah. We just found a boat last weekend, came from Kansas, I believe, with quagga mussels, and they were up in really hidden areas of the boat. The owner had no idea. So thanks to the good work of our inspectors, they found it and were able to decontaminate it and get it on the water.
Now, if they were to get that boat in the water and it wasn't caught in inspection, how few mussels would it take to cause a huge problem?
Perhaps just one. If it's an adult that can reproduce, it's possible.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's important that we do that diligent work to ensure that those mussels aren't on the boat, or anything else for that matter, some sort of plant or other animal or other creature that we're trying to keep out.
All right, so describe for me what could happen to Tahoe if these invasive species were allowed to propagate.
Well, they ruin the ecosystem for the most part. And Tahoe being famed for that environmental, the natural beauty, the scenic splendor, crystal clear waters, that would certainly impact all that. And where most of these little creatures live is within that, what we call the nearshore environment. And that's where most of our users experience the lake. Beaches, shallow areas where you're going to be swimming, fishing perhaps, paddleboarding. And so that area of the lake would certainly become a lot less clear, shells all over the place, encrusted, smelly, cutting your feet, but just ruining the natural ecosystem and outcompeting native species that we have.
So you guys have set up then this pretty extensive boat inspections process. Describe for me how that works.
So if you've never been to Lake Tahoe before, you would come through one of the highways. Most of our inspection stations are placed at entryways into the basin. You stop, get an inspection. They'll look in all aspects of the boat that could potentially be wet. And if they notice any moisture or water, then a decontamination would need to be done, and it's with hot water, and that would kill pretty much anything that we're looking for. And then they put a security band. It's not anything high tech, it's just a wire and a piece of plastic that goes between your boat and your trailer, and that indicates that you've been inspected. And so when you go to the ramp, they see that seal and you're good to launch. And once you come off the water, the staff at the marinas will put a new one on. So you can go right back to the lake without having to go back to the inspection station.
Okay, now if you then take your boat to a different lake, say you go to one of the reservoirs or something like that, do you then have to be re-inspected when you come back to Tahoe?
Correct. We do charge for our program, but it's a one-time fee. So you pay one time for the year and you get as many inspections as you need.
Okay, so you can still use your vehicle in other places?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Now, what is the cost usually associated with this?
For boaters that only boat in Lake Tahoe, we have a designation called Tahoe Only. That's $30 a year. And that gets you on and off the water at the various marinas. For boaters that have never been here before or like to recreate in different water bodies, there's lots of them in the area. It's on average about $75 for the year. We charge based on the length of the boat. The bigger the boat, the harder it is to do the inspection, the longer it takes. So it's a graduated scale for that, but it averages about $75 for most boats that utilize the lake.
How much time should people allot for this?
Well, the first thing a boater should do is try to arrive clean, drain, and dry. That's the mantra we promote. It's pervasive throughout the West. All the different programs, the state of Nevada uses it also. So that'll save you a lot of time. Perhaps 20 minutes. 30 minutes, depending on how big your boat is and the complexities. If you have, you know, a nice big boat,
Yacht.
yeah,
If you're a
exactly.
yacht
Yeah.
person.
It might take a little bit longer. Certainly, if we have to do a decontamination, that will take longer as well. But as I mentioned, if you come clean, drain, and dry, you're going to get on the water a lot faster.
All right, do people usually have to wait in line? Is there a long line of people?
Generally, no. But on busy weekends like 4th of July, we'll certainly see an increase of tourists coming in and enjoying the cooler weather from places down in the valley or something like that, where it can reach triple digits. But we've been doing this. This is our 10th season now, and we've got it pretty dialed in. And what we're really proud of is that no new invasives have been discovered since we started the program.
Yeah, that's great news, because really, I mean, Lake Tahoe is such a treasure, and the last thing we want to see is to have these famous blue waters be not so famous brown waters,
Exactly.
you know, like they turn into all these other lakes that
Yeah.
I'm so spoiled. When I go to another lake now, I'm like, "Shh, it's not Tahoe.
It's no Tahoe.
It's no Tahoe. Okay, and jet skis too, not just
All
boats.
motorized watercraft
Okay.
are required to have that inspection. But then we also have a program for non-motorized kayaks and paddleboards. There is a risk. It's a little bit smaller. And so we have a stewardship program. It's called Tahoe Keepers. And so you can go online, tahoekeepers.org. You watch a short video. It informs you of the issues and why we're doing these inspections, what the problems are, and then how you can self-inspect and decontaminate your own paddlecraft. You take a quiz, and then we send you a sticker and a certification letter. Once you go to some of these beaches that will have staff, they'll make sure you're a Tahoe keeper, and it's a much easier process that way.
Good deal. Okay, now obviously nobody wants to be the person who introduces invasive species, but if you don't get your boat inspected, you know, there are some consequences.
Certainly, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency is a regulatory agency. We do have the ability to enforce our code. There's a potential monetary penalty of $5,000, but we don't want to go that way. This is all about education and getting our boaters and recreators to buy into the program, and after 10 years, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of success, and that's thanks to the outreach that we've done. The Tahoe Resource Conservation District is our partner agency in this effort, and all the marinas, all the private marinas that help us with that, ensuring that only inspected boats get on the lake. So,
Yeah, it's great that there's a lot of motivation, definitely.
yes.
Now, you guys have some new programs too that I want to touch on really quickly. We got a couple minutes left. You're doing some Asian clam control at Sand Harbor?
So yes, so Asian clam are a clam species. It's an invasive species that we do have in the lake, unfortunately. Most of them exist in the southeastern portion of the lake, but a small population was found in Sand Harbor near the boat dock, or the boat ramp. And so within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a project there to get rid of them. They put down rubber mats, essentially, that just suffocates them. So we want to make sure the beachgoers know and the boaters know that just to kind of keep an eye out, try not to anchor in that area, or watch out for some of the divers that are installing these mats, but they'll be in for a few months, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, they'll be dead.
Good deal. And speaking of killing things, you're also doing some UV light control technology for weeds?
Yeah, so part of the success of our program is trying innovative ideas. These rubber mats that I mentioned for the clams that had never really been done before outside of Tahoe. And invasive weeds are another invasive species that we have that we're trying to get rid of. And we're always trying to build the toolbox. Can't build a house with a hammer. You need a couple other things too, so we're trying to do the same thing. And this pretty inventive guy came up with an idea that UV light would kill invasive plants underwater. And it's pretty simple technology. It's worked well in the lab. We're going to be trying it out this month at the Lakeside Marina in the South Shore. And hopefully it'll be another successful tool we'll have to be able to combat
That's awesome.
existing weeds.
Yeah, it's awesome, especially knowing that Lake Tahoe's clarity, while it's gotten better over the decades, did have a sharp decline. And then I know seasonally we kind of see it declining a little bit, right?
Yeah, you have fluctuations, the big winters we've had, especially this last one. But what the good news is that we go over a 5-year average. It's not just about 1 year. As you mentioned, there's a lot of fluctuations. So we're 2 feet ahead of that 5-year goal. So the goal for 2016 was 71 feet, but the 5-year average right now is 73 feet. So we're doing pretty good.
All right, well, we got about 30 seconds left. What's your final message? What do you want people to know?
Just remember that clean, drain, and dry mantra. the Tahoe region and the state of Nevada have recently passed new rules that you have to pull your bilge plug, which is the drain plug on the back of your boat, while you're transporting it on the trailer. And this is just a great best management practice to ensure that you can become clean, drain, and dry and reduce the risk of spread.
Good to know. All right, Dennis, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Ariana.
it. All right, that's it for this episode of Face the State. But for more information or to see past episodes, you can go to our website. That's ktvn.com. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next week.